We are live now. Hi. Greetings, brother Galactic Clyde. Long time. I haven't seen you. You look well. You look good. You are such a phenomenal brother in the community. You are I'm your herbalist. I know you do herbal, I know you do teach people plants in the community about plants in the community. I know you're a secret drummeter, like you teach people about secret drumetry and you build your little um, um, geometric set, to show people and the power of secret drumetry. And I know again you're an astrologer. You have been doing that for a very long time. Once I remember when I met you in some event and you had me to buy, and I bought a book called something about cards, and it would tell you about
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, your astrology. So today again, nice to meet you,
Okay.
and
Greetings, and give
I'm
thanks.
glad you're
Give
here.
thanks for that. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So today, I think it was fitting for me to bring you in because you are quite important in the community. So I want to ask you, what drew you to astrology, and how you became such uh, a such a great person in teaching astrology, or reading people astrological sign for them.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the Caribbean, and I remember in school when the topic of astrology came around, people was like they make it look like it was some kind of fake thing, you know. It's and I know I was into what they call a social study, and we used to learn a little bit of science where they talk about the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer,
Hmm,
but they
hmm,
never
hmm.
really go into what that means from an astrological standpoint. But after I leave my country and was living in the UK and in the USA, I was exposed to astrology. I had an interest in astrology because I started to read certain books. I remember reading the book The Ruin of Empire. And in the back of the book, in The Ruin of Empire, they explained that astrology was developed by ancient African in the study of the laws of nature. And so I had a very, that kind of stroked me towards an interest in astrology. And I came across the teacher, my astrology teacher, who became my astrology teacher later on was Aisha Grice. I remember
Okay.
I went to a lecture, and when I met her, I was introduced to her, and she asked me to help her with the ephemeris. She was giving a talk at the Victoria Center in Harlem, and she asked me to help her with the ephemeris. She showed me what to do, and after she finished, she said I was very good at it in knowing how to, explain or just to relate the information on the ephemeris while she was talking. She just asked me for certain passages, relate like where the planets are, what degree, and I pick it up right away. And
Okay.
from there, we started to converse on astrology, and she offered a course, and I went and take an astrology course with her. And from there, I remember when I did my first astrology chart, I was
Hmm.
blown away by the information. It was so on point in connecting me in understanding self, or the way I understand myself, and certain things that I didn't know about myself, I took it on board as well. So yeah, that was my starting point living in America. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, cool. And how we get to see, in like you say, in the church. I mean, we've been taught that astrology is the thing of the devil, and you shouldn't take part in astrology, especially in the Adventist realm circles. You was taught that thing. So how important it is for astrology, and how ancient is that is astrology, and um um in the world, how ancient it is as a practice.
Yes, well, I come up to the church system as well. Most of us were in the Caribbean. We were exposed to Christianity. We have to do certain prayers every day. We used to have to quote certain psalms and things like that. So I grew up in there. It was part of our life, and still is to a certain extent. But
Hmm.
what I realized, and I came to realize this in 1991, that the whole trick of the church was because that the sun and the son was interchanged. So what
100%.
happened? The Son of God, Son, was taken from the ancient doctrine of this Sun, Son of God, with
Mm-hmm.
ancient Kemet and ancient Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
ancient Africa had it. that the whole crucifixion and the rebirth of the Son, S-U-N, takes place every year. And so Christianity has adapted the ancient teaching into the story of Christianity, which is the story of the birth of the Son of God, or the Christ. And they adapt word for word the whole scientific and creation in connection to the rebirth of the Son that takes place every year around the time where we're coming into the rebirth of the Son around what they call the winter solstice for we who are living in the northern hemisphere, and the summer solstice for those who are living in the southern hemisphere of the world. So the word solstice means that the sun is standstill, or the sun, or rebirth of the sun, because at a certain point in the summer or winter solstice, the sun stops and at its direction, either north or south, and then on the cross of the equinox on the solstice, the sun goes to the most southern point and then move from the southern point back to the center and then to north again. And so that's where we in the northern hemisphere, I'm in the UK, the sun is going all the way south, and when it reaches to the furthest point to the south, it stops and then remove and then come back to the northern hemisphere. Hence we got the what they call it, the spring equinox, when we say the sun cross over the equinoctial line, and where we get the crucifixion or the crossover. Yeah, so it's part of religion, but what it is, the reason why they stamp it out, because it's the code. They had to take away the code, or the ancient code, from the language, or so we're reading the outer teaching and not understanding the inner teaching and what it represents with creation and nature itself.
So how significant?
It's called Christology.
Christology.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So what is Christology in a sense, in a nutshell?
Well, I came across a doctrine, and this was back in the 90s by Jordan Maxwell. And at the same time, Jordan Maxwell was bringing out his doctrine and the connection with the Son and the Son of God, S-U-N and S-O-N. At the same time, Dr. Ben and them were bringing out information of ancient Kemet and the whole concept of the Memphite theology, and the whole concept of the Osiris and the rebirth and Heru and all of these things. So all of this was culminating at the same time around the 90s. So when Jordan Maxwell bring out his doctrine called the Naked Truth, I was blown away, because I understand the symbolism, because I was into Christianity, and I understand the symbolism of the cross and what the cross have to do with the equinox and solstice and things of that, and the Ankh and all of this stuff. And so it was a mind-blowing timeline. And so, and the document is still there on YouTube. You could go and Google what is called The Naked Truth by Jordan Maxwell and see the information dealing with the ancient teaching of the birth or the rebirth of the sun that takes place every year, and as well as every day, because every day the sun is being reborn when the sun comes in the east and sets in the west. However, we know scientifically the sun never rises nor sets, but that's a whole different story. Yes.
So so how significant at this time, with the winter solstice kicking in, and the Christmas and all of the pageantry you would see during this time, how significant is with what's happening there, with the Christ dying on the cross for 3 days and setting forth back to the opposite direction where it come from?
Well, it's significant because it's crushed the myth of the hidden teaching that deals with the S-O-N, and show that the teaching have to do with the S-U-N as well as the S-O-U-L, the soul. Because when we come into this world, we're coming to this world as a soul being into flesh through our mother, you know, and we're reborn. We're reborn from a soul consciousness into the physical consciousness. So we take on a physical body as a soul being. Yes, and just like that is happening every day or every year, the sun is being reborn. We know that winter or the winter cycle is a symbolism of death. And that's why we go into the darker part of the year for we who are living in the northern hemisphere of the world. So we're going through a cycle of death, and then spring is rebirth or return back to life. And so the sun is said to die on the cross of the equinox and solstice every year around the December 21st, 22nd. This year is going to be the 22nd, when the sun, where we have in the winter solstice, where the sun stands still. And the sun is considered in the manger of Capricorn and being reborn to be the new sun of the new cycle of the year. And so it's significant to understand it as both the inner and outer teaching, or the secret mysteries of life, where it's been kept secret by certain organizations such as the Masonic, or you got certain organizations such as Mystic Christianity, or certain organizations as Rasta, because even the Rastas understand the teaching in connection to Haile Selassie being born at a certain sacred time, and what that means spiritually, and that what that means for Africans who were being enslaved, knowing that we had a person who was born to become the emperor or the world ruler, emperor. And so it was significant because they understand that the inner teaching had to do with the soul. And Rasta created a language that is based more on the soul as opposed to the body. So this is why they were changing certain words to use the word I, and to use the word Ras means king or head, and things of that nature. Yes, so they understand, because the head is actually the sun rise. The heart is the midday sun, and our sexual part is the setting sun or sunset. So we have the sun, our whole body is 12 different aspects of the sun, where we have all the suns, sun in Aries, sun in Taurus, sun in Gemini, all the 12 signs of the zodiac represents the 12 stations of the body, or 12 aspects of the body of the sun. But the main thing that we can see of the body, the head is the risen sun, or Aries sun. The heart is the Leo sun, and the sexual part is the setting sun. Yes,
can you explain the 12 sections of the body during the fascial reflex? I mean, it's fascinating, you know, to hear.
Yes.
Yes, to hear it. Yes, cool. Can you explain that for the public?
Yes. Okay, so let me explain it in connection with the calendar, because most people have the calendar, but they don't understand that the calendar and our body is interconnected. So the body is a symbolic of a year. Yes, where you have the head, which represents March 21st, and all the way back to the feet, which represents March 20th. So you got the cycle of the year from March to March, in the truest sense, or in the ancient sense, or the spring to the end of winter. So which we got the Aries to Pisces. So the head is Aries and the feet is Pisces.
Why is it starting March and not January? Before you continue.
Okay, because the ancient look at it as the head, and even in the Hebrew system is the head, or what we call the beginning. So the body begins from the head and then ends to the feet. So that's how it, and you have to go to the whole biblical story of Abraham and the blessings and all of that stuff. It's a whole different story where you get the 12 tribes. But let me go to the body. So we got the head, represents Aries or Abraham, or Aries, the head, yes? And so so that's the risen sun. Then you got Taurus, which represents the neck of the body, yes? So that's the second station of the sun. Then you got the shoulders and the arms, which represents Gemini, yes? Then you got the chest and the breast, which represents Cancer. Then you got the heart, which represents Leo. Then you got the intestines, which represents Virgo. Then you got the kidneys. After Virgo, you got Libra. You got the kidneys, which represents Libra. Then after Libra, you got the sexual part, which represents Scorpio. Then you got the thighs, which represents Sagittarius. We're in Sagittarius, so this is the thighs, the walkabout sign, the sign that deals with travel. You have to have good thighs to be traveling around.
Yes,
anyway, then you got the knees and the bone structure, which represents Capricorn. and then the feet, or the ankle, sorry, which represents Aquarius, the flexibility of Aquarius. And then you got the feet, which represents Pisces. So we go to all 12 signs of the zodiac from head to feet, which also represents the zodiac months of the year, where you get Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, which is connected to the astrological months of the year, which is connected to our ancient calendar system, which is
So,
taken from the ancient calendar system of the African or ancient Kemites. Yeah, we have the ancient calendar system. Yes.
so let me ask you. So regarding each section connect to a part of the body, like the phallic,
Yes.
the knees. If
Yes.
somebody born at a particular time, is there a good or bad in terms of if somebody born in the knees, it might affect their knees. If somebody
Yes, that's a
born,
very good. Yes, yes. I understand the question. Go ahead,
yes,
finish
yes,
it.
yes, yes.
Yes. So how that works? So what happens? It's just like our life. Your best clothes is the clothes you wear the most. The ones you
Mm-hmm,
like the best is the one that you wear the most, and therefore you wear them out. So
mm-hmm,
if you're born in the sign of Capricorn, it rules the knee and the bone structure. And
mm-hmm,
so Capricorns would have issues with the knee and bone structure. And the opposite sign of Capricorn, which is Cancer, is similar. Yes.
mm-hmm,
So Capricorns are very much the bone structures of the sign. And therefore, Capricorns in connection to rulership, it's about structuring. That's why they're very good at governance and government, because it's about structuring society, structuring organization, everything to do with structure. That's
mm-hmm.
Capricorn sign. And so in astrology, we say the sign which rules the 10th house, it's also have to do with our career, because how you structure your life is where your career lies. Yes? So it's not only your bone structure, but how you structure yourself. But even because these are your very important connection with yourself, because as I say, your best clothes is the one that gets wear out or get used the most. Therefore, you always have to, Capricorns, they would always have to tap up on the calcium level, which is your white foods in the food chain. Yes, because it's so
Okay.
important that actually that Capricorn also strengthen their bone, because their bone is the one that they would always be, they're always about structuring. And so it's the same thing if you have to look at any other signs in that sense, like Aries, the head. And so they also have to
Okay.
protect the head. The head button, they also have to do with wordology. Aries maybe want to be competitive with words and things of that nature. And so it's all about the knowledge and the things of that nature. So yes, so that's how they wear out the signs the most, because that sign is more prevalent in your life in that sense. Yeah,
So
it's
yeah.
something like that. Somebody is a poetry, that we always have some poet to come with. Somebody is a mathematician, they always be ready for the latest math competition or math talk and things like that. Somebody's literature, they would always, literature is very important to them. So it's the same thing with your sign. That is so important. So you wear it out. And so you always have to restore that energy or that chemical in your body in that sense.
Okay. So I mean, so the science is there for us. So the fact that we feel we should use a allopathic system and we do not know what's going on, that means based on the time he was born, we could have a clue of what might happen in the future because you have it, you use it, you wear it out, and the possibility you could take countermeasures in order for it to protect or not to allow things to, or you like your MOT, because you know you wear it out. So you should take
Yes.
like preemptive measures to protect the organ of use the most.
Yes. Look at this time of the year when we're going to the winter cycle, which is similar symbolic of death. Yeah, and most people die during this time, going into in the winter solstice time, because it's a symbol of death, but
Yes,
it's
yes.
also symbol of old age. Yes, so the
Mm.
year is considered old. This is the
Cool. Yes,
oldest part of the year. The
yes,
youngest part of the year is spring. And this
yes.
is why we see the eggs and the chicks and the ceremony that goes along, because the year is young. Now the year is old. Yes? Or the year is the midway, which is summer. Yeah. And so it's all there. It's all there for us to understand.
Wow.
So right now we're in the book. We're coming into the by tomorrow. Monday, where we enter Capricorn. We come into the bone structure. We come into the winter cycle, which is a 3-month astrological month cycle, which is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. So I'm just thinking, Galactic Clyde, because I'm looking at the knowledge is there from ancient times, but somewhere along the line
Yes.
we lost our way, or we forgotten our past, and then we just caught up in a system where it's not really aiding us because, like you
Mama, we
say,
don't, we don't forget. Don't say we forget. We don't forget, man. They beat it out of us.
oh,
Then
yes, they
beat it
beat it
out
out of
of
us.
us. We have to
Yes,
say what it is.
yes,
They
yes,
beat it out of
100%.
us because remember, we have to always remember it was mandate when they brought us from Africa to the Western world. It was mandate that we was against the law for us to read, to learn to read. It was against the law. You could get punished. You could get even killed just learning to read. So they
Mm,
beat the knowledge out of us because our ancestors didn't come here without knowledge. They had knowledge. And because they had knowledge, they were able to free themselves. They were able to maintain a constant fight for freedom. And they also able to learn from the African language. They're able to learn and adapt to the language of wherever they were placed. So if they were placed in the English language, they learned the English language. The French, they learned the French or Spanish or whatever. They were able to adapt because they were connected.
but again,
So yes,
Galactic Clyde, I mean, they may have the books, but it's embedded in our genes and who we are because it's coming
yes,
from
yes.
the beginning, so they may have it. So ever so often, so like you will wake up and shake, and that thing will come into you naturally because that's who we are, because it's in our bigger. So so I say we forget they can beat it out of you, but still somewhere along the line it will come back because it's who you are. Would you agree with
It's
that?
in it's in our genes, it's in our DNA, it's in who we are. And it's passed down to the lineage as well. Yeah. So when we say it's in our genes, it's in our DNA because it's passed through our lineage. Yeah.
Yes. Let me ask you: a child, a lady have a child, and a man have a child, and they born under the same house. How that child would what difference? Would the child be have more traits or would have maybe pain in the knee because both parents born in the knee? Would the child be somebody that walking a lot, or it doesn't really matter? It's all down to the child because based upon the time he was born.
So you're saying because you're bringing two different child here. So you said a child, a lady have a child, or a man have a child. I don't
No, no,
understand the
no.
man have a
Both
child
no.
because all the
A,
childs have by
yes, no.
lady. Yeah,
A couple,
even though
a
the
couple,
man is involved. Yeah,
a,
go
a,
ahead.
yeah, a couple have a child. Both of
Yes,
them
a
are
couple.
under the
Okay.
house of, under the house of Virgo.
Or if they both of them are Capricorn, or both of them are Virgo, both of them, which one?
Yeah, both of them are Capricorn of Virgo. Either or,
Capricorn.
they're born under the same house.
They're both
How
under the same sign. So both parents are under the same sign, yes, and they have a child, yes.
how would that is that significant, or it's just the child when the child born
Yes,
he
it's
would.
it's very significant. The main sign for the parents. There's research that we can do to see how that fare out because they would have a strong dominant Capricorn influence in their life. And so because of their both parents are Capricorn. So what could happen is that that child could born with an exalted Saturn or
Mm,
even Saturn in its fall, because they're also a lesson. So they could born anywhere in the spectrums of the sign, yeah, because it all depends on what time of the what they call it, the connection with the pregnancy, yeah. So the
mhm,
child could
mhm.
born anywhere along or in any one of the sign, but there will be some influence from the strong Capricorn of both parents. And so that person could have a strong Saturn in their chart or strong Capricorn influence in their chart. Yes, because of both parents.
Okay. Wow, that's powerful. You said a while ago. What do you think about like our African spirituality? They may call it things like voodoo, they may call it like Obia, kind of names like that. What is your perspective on it? Because it's something that we grew up in the Caribbean and we hearing about, and they put the fear in us about it, and we go away from it. What is your perspective on it, looking at where we are standing today?
Well, I must say I'm a student of Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark. Actually, these guys, I met them personally, and I have school under them in terms of their lectures and things like that. And you know what they talk about is all systems, yes? Because when we talk about spirituality, we can't leave out religion, because what happens, people play their religion over our systems of spirituality. And really what we consider as religion is an outgrowth of African spirituality. So Christianity is an outgrowth of African spirituality. Islam is an outgrowth of African spirituality. The voodoo and the different systems is all part of African spirituality. However, some people want to say this one is evil and this one is good and all of these things. It's just really a matter of semantics and how they look at things from whatever standpoint or things like that. There's good and bad in everything. You understand? There's good and bad in everything, because even within the medical system, there is good and bad. You understand? But it's how it's being used. But the system is there for either for good or bad. Just like a knife, you could go for the store and you can get a knife for to do good things in terms of cooking food and peeling food or whatever, or you could get a knife for very nefarious or very bad system. But it doesn't mean that the knife is bad. And so religion in itself, where the voodoo, you got the negative side to the voodoo practice, and you also got the positive side, which is the healing side. But what it is, they make it to see that they broad brush it to make it's all bad. Yeah? And then Christianity and the other religion, they're all good. No, there is good and bad practice within all the systems. Yes?
Yes.
So spirituality itself, it's the systems of spirituality. And with the systems of spirituality, there is good and bad systems of spirituality. Yes?
Yeah.
And but what happens, people use the bad systems or utilize or talk about the bad system as if it's all bad, and they never attribute the good part of the same thing.
Yeah.
You understand? So we have to understand that. So yes, voodoo, and I understand the voodoo practice, it also represents wisdom. But there's the negative side to voodoo. Yes, there's a positive side and a negative side to voodoo. There's a positive side and a negative side to Christianity, because those people that take us in train from Africa were practicing Christianity.
They were Christian.
As they claim. They claim. But in the true aspect of Christianity, there's no such thing. It's very negative. But
even Islam,
it to suit. Yes, and
Islam
that's why I said. That's why I said there's a negative and positive practice to all these different practice of spirituality. But the true practice of spirituality is what makes it true reality. Because spirituality is really true reality connected with the spiritual forces of creation or the universe, and utilize it for good, for protection, for guidance.
Because the Haitians can tell you when they got attacked by the French, the Spanish, the English, the spiritual system they have free them from it. And if it wasn't for Desalide and Overture, if it wasn't for he get tricked by the French and put in a prison, Haiti would be free up to now. And that's why today Haiti is in the mess it is in, because of what happened through the freedom. The first country to get free was the Haitians, and they used the voodoo to do that.
Yes, they fight. But the voodoo that they used, it wasn't just looking at the good side of voodoo. They had to use the nefarious side. They had to use poison. They had to use whatever means available to set themselves free. They even tell you they also had to put babies in the cannons. They would tell you that if you go to this history, but they were looking at survival for what is the best outcome. You understand? Yet we may look at these as bad, but sometimes, and this is the thing about it, you're pushed to such level that actually you have no
No choice.
in terms of what needs to be done, which is not a good thing, but is of survival.
You're going in and out, you're going in and out.
Somebody tried to call me, so yeah, somebody
Oh,
tried to
sorry.
call me. That's why the
Okay.
headphone. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Yeah, yeah, that's good. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I mean, when you need to survive, whatever means you need, because if two get sacrificed, the rest will leave to redo, sorry, to continue where they left off. So that's fair enough. Because for me, I kind of holistic in my views, because even in the very Bible it would show you where the God tell them to kill this, the God tell them to kill that. So like you say, it are both good and evil in it, is how you use it, like the knife example you brought a while ago. And I fully agree and
Yes.
comprehend what you're saying.
Yes. But we understand when they talk about the God, they're not talking about the creator of the universe. And we have to understand there's a lot of things that we're being taught that we actually have to revisit in its truest sense of who's saying what and when, and how that thing is, because there's a lot of trick, and there's a lot of hidden mysteries within these different systems. You understand? And so
Yeah.
it's so important that we analyze these things from a broader standpoint than just what we read there in terms of the different books, because a lot of them are just the outer teachings. They're not the true inner teachings of what actually happens, because
So
some of it are metaphors and some of it are just parables and sayings that attribute to have deeper meaning in that sense.
So can you give us some example when you say it doesn't really attribute to, you have to look at it in context. Can you give us some examples when you say that, what you mean by that?
Case in point, if you go and look at the Bible where they said that it was Moses struck the Egyptian,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, the scripture said, they didn't say you go and you when you go and research how he killed the person. All the scripture said he looked there and he looked here, which have a different meaning in English than he have in he have a different meaning in Hebrew than he have in English. You understand? When
Mm-hmm.
also you have another system where Moses struck the rock and water come forth. The
Mm-hmm.
rock here doesn't also means a physical rock, because the
Mm-hmm.
rock represents, in one sense, they speak in a kind of symbolic language, because rock in the spiritual meaning represents wisdom, and water represents understanding. So when
Mm-hmm.
you tap into wisdom, then you get understanding, which is the flow. So most of us are struck in the rock, which is the
so
hidden knowledge,
so
to get
Galactic Clyde,
understanding, which is yes,
so
yes,
are you
yes.
telling me that a lot of people are lost? Because if they use looking at what is metaphoric and placing the whole life on it and the faith on it and belief on it, what happens?
This is why we have dictionaries, and we have different things to explain what we're actually reading. So when you come onto the Bible, for instance, with Bible, because most of us grew up on Bible, and that's why I use more Bible than Quran. Yeah, most of us grew up on Bible, but we got many different books that actually break down the secret behind the Bible. Yes, such as the Sephirah Yetzirah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
you got books that are that, and there's so much different. There are about five, there are about 10 or more books that explain what the Bible is saying. Why you need an explanation? Because it's a closed book. It's not an open book. And because it's not an open book, you need an explanation to explain what you're reading. And that's why most people don't understand what they're reading. And that's why when we put the explanation of astrology with the Bible, we realize we're dealing with astrotheology. You understand? And that's where it comes in. So a lot of this stuff are just written for outer teaching, and the
Yes.
inner teaching are completely different. And so
Yes.
most of us have to tap into the soul of the information, as opposed to just looking at the outer garment. Because most of us grew up on the outer garment. You cannot just know the man by his outer garment. It's just like they say, you can't know the book by the cover.
By the cover, yeah.
And most of us, we've been just being at the cover. We're not going to the deep hidden meaning behind a lot of the teachings that we come up to know as what it is.
Astrophysics. Let me ask you a question, Galactic Clyde.
Mm.
So, you know, millions of people have died, you know, with the hope that what they've been taught, because we was not allowed to read the Bible. The priest would read it for us, he would turn his back and read for us in the Caribbean, and then we would have to take what he's saying hook, line, and sinker until later on our foreparents, you know. So 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 those souls, those beings, I mean, what, they'll be going to hell because they was never brought in house. All they got was the out what I'm they only watch the cover, and they do not know what's inside the book. So and they never read the thesaurus, books that explain to them. They never read nothing. So what happened to our our people?
Okay, it's there's a lot there to take in when it comes on to that, because most of us think that when people die, yeah, they
Uh-huh.
stay in the grave until when Jesus come to resurrect them. These are all stories. These are all stories, really. You understand? And so they, you know, they just store them in our heads, really. But we have, when you really take it apart, really, God is merciful. Yes, and our soul is eternal. So we
Mm,
don't really die in the sense of how we look at death or how we've been
mm.
taught death, because birth is death and death is birth.
Book,
So when
100.
we're born, our soul enters a body and we call it birth. When we're dead, with the so-called death, our soul leaves the body. But based on our development spiritually, and a lot of us are spiritually developed, we go different planes of the in the astral realm. Some planes are higher than some, and some planes are lower. Some people who are vile and very mass criminals, they go into the most lower dense plane of the astral plane. But a lot of us actually, when we actually enter the other realm, we're surprised to realize that yes, death is not the end. And we meet our ancestors and our loved ones on the other side, because most of them come for us on our deathbed to help us to cross over the other side.
I was just coming on
And
to
most
that.
people don't understand that. Most people don't understand that. So yes, and that's why some people go to suffering in this world, because it's a way of cleaning up your karma. Because most people
Hmm.
don't realize a man may stay on his deathbed and on the hospital bed for years upon years, but most people don't know what's going through his mind, how it's forgiving certain things, how he's losing certain karmic states that he's been into. He's forgiving families, he's forgiving friends. So by the time death comes, his karma is clear to a certain extent, so he's welcome to certain levels that he may not even realize that he's thing. So what they said, what the ancient says about death, death is like a king returning home. Yes, a man returning or a woman returning to his kingdom or queendom, because this is where you're going to realize your true self, because you're in spirituality. That's true reality. You're in the world of the spirit, and you realize that you're not just flesh and blood. Flesh and blood is just your spacesuit for this earth, but your real
Mm.
self is your spiritual self, which is your soul consciousness, which is an aspect of the divine, not the devil.
Wow, that's
So
powerful.
our true self, yes, our true self, we're an aspect of the divine. We're a spark of the divine. And therefore, when we move on to this realm, we're not move on to the realm of the devil, but the realm of the divine, because we're divine children.
Mm. Wow, that's powerful because a lot of people need to listen, because what you're saying there, it makes a lot of sense, and you could see logic in what you've been in what you're saying. It's not like going to church and telling you hope and pray that everything will be okay, but you're giving us real ism. So wow, so that's, yeah. So right. So in terms of things like astral travel, what is your perspective on astral travel and Falco? Yeah, astral travel. Yeah.
Okay, before I go to that, just for people who may want some details in connection to what I said, there's a very good document, and you can find it on YouTube, Life in the Unseen World. It's a very good document about show you the connection between this world and the other world. Also, you can also look at the ancient Egyptian, shows you the transition from this world to the other world. They show you that light, which is the Ba and the Ka. Yeah.
Yeah.
So people
Mm-hmm.
can study the Ba and the Ka because they ancient people knew this. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? And they also have systems of medicines that they can use to transcend this world to the other world. So let's talk about astral travel. So the body, as we said, is just really a house. It's our temple. And we know that all of us who have a house that we live in or an apartment, that we can exit the apartment and come back to the apartment. So it's the same way. Our house, we can leave the house and we can go miles away and come back. The same way with our body. Our physical body is our temple, is our spacesuit on this earth. And but
Mm-hmm.
we can leave that, and that's why I said there's a concept that, and you let me just break that down. I said this, that we walk by day, but we fly by night.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the flying by night is the astral travel, because we're taking spiritual flight out of the body, going to the spiritual astral world, the dream world, the ancestral world, and most time we come back and we said, I had a dream about this person or that person or this ancestor or that ancestor. No, you're astral travel. You're going into the astral world or the spiritual world, because sleep is a symbol of death.
Death. Yeah.
Sleep, when we rest, is the body resting, the spirit becomes alive. And because it becomes alive or active, I should say, we can intertravel. And what keeps us to the body is what we call the silver cord. The silver cord, as long as it's not severed, we can stretch out as far as going into space and into other realms and view and see things. We could go to different libraries, we could go to different country, or we do go to different libraries and different country to learn things when we go into the spirit world. Hence, while some people will tell you, if they're coming by you to do an estimate for a job or something, they will tell you, well, let me go, I have to sleep on it, because they have to view it, they want to view it from the astral world. So they tell you, no, I'll call you tomorrow and I'll give you my update. Because what happens, they bring it to the dream realm, the spirit realm, they
Mm-hmm.
sleep on it and they wake up with an understanding. Okay, yeah, this is the price, or this is the understanding. That's how it works. So
Okay.
astral travel is traveling from the physical world into the spiritual world, or even going to different planes of on this earth, and that's what we're able to do. That's why we can know other family members who are suffering, who are sick, or who may have issues. We visit them in the spiritual world and the astral world, and we could see what's going on way before the telephone and the telegraph, because it's teleport we do. So when we astral travel, we teleport out the body to different ports and come back into the body, which we call astral travel.
So yeah, because I know growing up home, the lady would say, "Oh, I had a dream of a medicine for Jacques, for Peter, and as he take that medicine, guarantee he or she would get well." I grew up hearing
Yes.
that all the time. So what you're saying there, like it just make the connection, because I grew up hearing that home. So it's kind of amazing. Today, we are realigning, or we are waking up to what our ancestors did, because we are the ancestors, the ancestors are us. So it's very much it's very fascinating to hear it from a next perspective of what's going on here. So
Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
yeah,
Yes.
no, no, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry, you can go ahead.
Yes. Well, this is where the astrology comes in, because let's look at plants. All the plants in the earth, yeah, they have different cycles where they grow. There's some cycles grows different months of the year. Then you got some plants grows all year round. I tell people all the time, from an herbal standpoint and an astrological standpoint, that any plant that grows all year round is good for the entire body. But the plant that grows at a certain time of the year rule is good for certain parts of the body in connection with that. So, for instance, if a plant grows in the time of Aries, then it will be good for the eyes, it will be good for the brain, it will be good for the head, and then it could also be good for the opposite sign, which is Libra, which is the kidney, and things of that nature. So we look at that from an astrology, and this is how we could understand how that works. So we that understand herbology and the astrology understand the connection or the
The two.
interconnection with nature and our nature, because whatever is outside of us is also inside of us, because the ancient says, and because we know it, because they said, as above the
So
heavens,
below.
so
Yeah.
below, or what's inside of us. As outside of us is also inside of us. So any plants that we eat is also outside of us. And when we take it inside of us, it gives us a connection. And so look at our people. Our people were taken into slavery, taken miles away, miles and miles away from their home. Yet still, they were able to communicate with nature and create and have their own medicine when the European doctors wasn't able to treat them, and still not able to treat them because they don't understand the physique in the way that our people understand our physique. So a lot of our people were medicine people, and so therefore they connect with nature and they knew about certain plants that was good for the body, just the interconnection. Because any plants that you take inside your body, you have a direct library of the knowledge of that plant. And that library or that knowledge of that plant could help you to understand that plant more so. Because if you eat it, you actually have the knowledge. Because what we say, eating or dieting is a communication.
Mm.
Yeah. So you commune with the plant, therefore you can understand the plant. So any plant you eat, there is a data that goes with the plant. And a lot of this data comes to the seed, the bark, the root, the herb. And so even with the herbology, they know that different parts of the plant does different aspects for the body. And that's where the herbology comes in. But yes,
So it's good to have the connection. So if you decide to study astrology, you should look at herbology too, because you need the balance in
it's
order for you to
interconnected. Yes, it's interconnected.
it's
And
interconnected.
really, what they even said, the ancient practice, even ancient Britain, they would tell you anybody who's studying medicine and don't understand astrology, they consider pseudoscience, pseudo
Mm.
doctors. They say they're not real doctors if they don't understand the astrology in connection to the medical. This is ancient Britain because it's come from the ancient world, because they're hand and gloves.
They go hands in glove. Now, a question. Today, you could see companies like Monsanto. Oh, by the way, this discussion is for education purposes only. Um, um, so this is why we're having a conversation for education purposes only. Today, with the idea of hybridization of food, when they're changing the food molecular structure, it growing out of season and it growing out of season. With what's going on today in the science world, how what is the effect of we eating food that was grown in a liquid in water? Does the period of time they grow it affects our physiology?
They are doing it to affect our physiology because you're dealing with systems of control. They lost the battle of slavery. They lost the battle of controlling us in trade. They lost the battle of controlling our minds. So they're using the food system and the medical systems as means of control. Yes, it's means of control, and it's also part of the research because it's way of having manipulating the public and controlling the public. Yes, and so these are very evil practice. Yes, and when you check who's these people, what are their background, you will see that their roots are in slavery. Their roots are in the elite, secret elites that are very much criminal in nature.
Mm. So you're
You
saying
understand?
that yes. So you're saying that when they change the food, like when they grow it, they change the food structure, or they make it GMO, or they grow it outside of the season, it destroying our genetic memory bank. It changes, confusing the cells in the body. What happens when you eat those type of food that they grow in in a crazy environment?
They create confusion in the body. They create confusion. They create sickness. They create a lot. Well, it's actually in benefiting them because at the same time they also, you still there. We still got to come to them to a certain extent for medication, because when you get sick from eating these things, then also it's a revolving wheel where you also come back to them. So who control the pattern, and you eat those things that they pattern, they also have a level of control over us. And so this is why we also, and this is so wicked, because now within the supermarkets you don't know what's what, because they tell you that, there is no proper label to tell you exactly what is genetic from what's not genetic. You have to go through all kind of loop and all kind of stuff, and especially for the elderly, to do all of this type of research to understand what's truly original and what's genetic is hard. But this is part of the control mechanism that they create to control humanity. You understand? Because they lose the battle, as I said, with slavery and the chains, and so therefore they always come up with different methods. You understand? So these are methods of control. It's not about feeding the population, because nature itself, nature itself is about abundance. That's why nature will produce so much seeds from the different plants. There's so much seeds in nature. Nature is all about abundance. But these people want to harvest, they want to control, because they want to keep things under their own control mechanism. Because that's how, that's the downward spiral of nature. And then they tell you about the devil. Well, this is not more devilish than somebody trying to control another human being, when actually we're born with our own control mechanism, which is our soul. We don't even need to be educated in that sense, because our soul, or I should say, the divine put the education within the vines. Let me break it down again. The divine put the education within the vines and food that we eat. So even the food are actually naturally our education, because what is education is to bring out what is within, not to program us. So education doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside. Educare, as the word is. So education is an inner knowing in its sense. True education, I should say. Everything else is programmed.
Wow. So, we grew up home and our parents said, bless the food before we have the food. How effective? Looking at the condition of the food today, how effective is the blessing, or when we put our mental thoughts on the goodness of the food? Do you think that can alter the negative energy they put, or what they put in the food?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes, it's very good. But we're programmed to do this every day. You could do it for the whole year. You could say one prayer for the whole year. I don't always, every time I'm eating a food, I gotta ask for a blessing. I do my blessings. I do my blessing from now till death.
Oh,
so you understand?
So you get an abundance on. I'll do it from now until death.
Yeah, you can do that, but people don't tell you that. Every time you eat, you have to pray. No,
you become a slave to the whole
system. You could pray for everything you eat from now until thy kingdom come, as they say. You understand? Who tell you that you got to do it every day? It's all programming.
It's all programming.
But yes, it's thing, because then people might be want to use negative things. So you also clear with you send out that blessing, or you send out the mental force of energy that whatever is planned against you would not prosper. And so you can do it forever. You don't have to do it every day. No force formed against me shall prosper. This is a biblical quotation. So you could quote that forever. You don't have to quote it every day.
because you're the living manifestation of what you speak.
Yes. But it also can go on forever. You don't have to, they're like, every time I eat, I got to say thank you. I got to say thank you. No, I could say thank you for everything I eat from now till whenever. Or I could do it for every month. I could do it for every year.
Yeah.
I could do it for every 10 years, and then I renew my thank you.
Yes.
Say there's no hard and fast rule to these things? It's a man-made construct of this hard and fast rule that you got to do that.
Yeah, because our parents used to do it, everything they eat, thanks this, thanks that. They would say a whole rosary saying thanks. But I guess today we have.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's a program. It's a programming. It's a programming. This is why when people in the military, you always have to salute because you agree. You get you to agree. Just like when you do on the bus as well, the programmers by coming, oh, we need to check your best bus pass. You can't get in like the bus unless you touch in. But somebody comes and says, well, we need to check your bus pass. Check it for what? Or because are you accusing me I'm not having a bus pass? You understand? Because you go in and you touch in and you go and sit down and somebody said they got to touch you because they suspect somebody may just walk in and not having a bus pass. But this is all part of the program because they get you to
Acquiescing.
comply. So
Yeah.
complying is easy. And so
Hmm.
it's a method of complying that they get us caught up into. So when they tell you jump, you ask how high.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's part of the programming, and that's why this world is full of programmers. Yes, but they forget that we've been programmed by our soul before we come here, and so
Hmm.
therefore we don't all go along with their program because we also have another program, which is our the consciousness that we come in from our soul standpoint, and the program that is in the food that is programmed from this celestial realm, because the food is programmed with Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Mars, Uranus, Neptune. All of the planets are also put their blessings in the food we eat. Yes. So every time the sun shine, the food grow because the sun is giving its protection and energy. And the planets is doing the same thing. The stars are doing this. So when we're eating food, we're eating stellar energy
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
physical form. And so these are our programs. And therefore, this is why we know certain things. This is why we could come up with certain things because the program is in there from the divine. And therefore they could try their best to, because this is what the slavery was all about. They wanted to keep us down and they wanted to reset us in as a different light where we shouldn't read so that they could control us. But our people had a different program within the food, and so they knew better. And
Yeah,
therefore all this man-made program would never work over the soul program, because divine is a higher force, is a higher mechanism than all this earthly realm and all this earthly control. And
yeah,
that's why
because
they fear. That's why they try to program the food so that they could try to program us.
yes, because there was a lady from Mexico. She was in the U.S. and she was ill for a long time, and nobody could find what's wrong with her. When they took her back to the U.S., the first week she was there, she had the food, no medicine, and she was
Mm,
back on her feet again. And when she
yes.
went back to the US, she was a study to the doctors what, how, what. She said all I ate was the food my ancestors ate.
Mm,
So what you're
yes.
saying there, I mean, I could agree with what you're saying there based upon that what happened with the woman in the US. So the food
Yes.
is the program.
Yes. So the food for the blood we know is our red foods. Our red foods are the food for the blood.
Mm-hmm,
Our
mm-hmm,
white foods, as I say, is the food for the bones.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So there's foods designed for all the purple foods, our liver foods, all the blue foods or foods that are conducted where you have the blue color, it's also connected with the kidney. So even the nature have a color code for us that helps us. And a lot of us don't understand that. Yes. So Nate, we're designed in a certain mystical and very scientific and very spiritual way to just follow as it is, because it's divine, it's designed by the divine for us to live in harmony with our environment, and therefore we would understand the deeper understandings of life, because the food is already and our soul is already programmed to understand the deeper aspects of life. But men try to control that, they try to play God. That's what they try to play God, because they want to override the divine for their own gain. But that itself is what would drive them insane, because they wouldn't when the more they try to control, is the more they lose the grip.
mm. Let me ask you, if somebody come to you, I mean, we may stop in about next 5, 10 minutes. If somebody, and we may, because I would like to us to come back again and have a next build. If somebody come to
Okay.
you and they tell you that and they tell you that I have a problem with my kidneys. What the first thing you say to them?
Well, I start look at the diet. Yes, because most of the time most people don't realize the problem with the kidney is more a problem with the bloodstream, because more or the water that they're drinking, because if the kidney filters the blood as well as water. Yes. And what happens if we're doing things with the blood that contaminate the blood, then it's going to overwork the kidney, and the kidney going to say, well, I can't handle this. You got to get back on track, otherwise I'm going to be out of whack. That's what it is. Get back on track, or I'm out of whack. And most time the kidney is out of whack because we are being programmed to eat certain things that we shouldn't eat. Case in point, meat. People say meat. Yes, our body, as it's been said, yes, the animals that eat meat have a short intestines. Yes. And the animals that don't eat meat have a long intestines. Human beings have long intestines like the animals that do not eat meat. So most times people don't realize that they're having that extra protein diet, and that cause problems with the meat, because your body have to filter, and the body have to deal with all that excess from the animal fats and things like that where we eat. We're not really designed, and I learned that from an early age. And I've been a vegan from since 91. And I realized that, yes, and a lot of people suffer from extra animal protein in their body, not knowing that. And that caused problem for the kidney. But people don't want you to say that, because it's like you're blaspheme against the medical institutes, against the systems that are designed to help to tell you that you need to eat this to get the extra protein. I could tell you one plant that have more protein than meat. Alfalfa have more protein than meat. Yes. So that is a very, very thing. And I would like to find some people, as I'm saying, that some backup information. It's almost like, things that people can do their own research and not just take my word for it. You can look at different experts talking about similar things. Okay. There is a video document on YouTube. I talk about, it's called, it's by Ledbetter, and it's called, what's the doctrine called? It's called uh, 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 vegetarianism and occultism. Vegetarianism and occultism, and it shows you the difference people that are on the meat diet and what it does for the body over time. Our body have a tolerance level, and that's why a lot of people, by the time they get 50, the tolerance level starts kicked in, and they start having problems with medical issues and issues to deal with their dietary practice. Yes, because your body have a tolerance level. Yes. And so occultism and vegetarianism and occultism have a very good document that actually shows how, consuming a lot of this meat diet, what it does to the body over time. That is a shocker for most people, but I must put that in.
Mm. So do you
So
ever
let me
like
let me repeat it: vegetarianism and
an
occultism.
occultism
Yes.
YouTube
Go ahead.
documentary?
Yes.
So when somebody comes to you like and they sit a problem, so you never go like what Munfy born on the which house on the house. You try and find out what they eating, what they do, but that never has that ever been your first port
Yeah,
of call to look
I bring, yes, yes, I look at all of these things. I also have a scanner where I could do the bioscan for people. So I could also see what's going on inside the body, which is a very good machine that actually help us to understand what's going on. But even people, I could just do the consultation, and I could find out what they'll tell me what's going on with them, and I could see, I could know what herb to recommend without even using the scanner. You understand? Because a lot of people, another thing that people don't do is clean out their body. And so let me bring a quotation from the ancient Egyptian. The ancient Egyptian says, we live on 1/10 of what we eat. The doctors live off the rest. So 1/10 of what we eat is nourishing to the body. 9/10 of it is actually becomes roughies and cause problems in the body. So
Mm-mm.
in other words, it's very important for us to flush out toxins out of body, to learn to clean up the body. And therefore, we would live a more healthier life. But most time we go to year after year without cleansing. So now we're coming into the winter cycle, and we're supposed to be cleaning the body just before we come into the
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 spring.
the no the winter the winter solstice. We're
Okay, the
supposed to
winter.
clean right between before the equinox and solstice begin. We're supposed to have a regimen cleaning of the body, proper flushing out of different toxins. Like for instance, if you go in the supermarket now, what do you see more abundance in the supermarket? Lots and lots of nuts.
Yes.
Why lots and lots of nuts for we in the cold climate? I said it all the time. Water freeze, but oil does not freeze. So a lot of the nuts contain the oil that will keep you warm during the winter time. Yet, yes, some people have nut allergies and things like that, but there's certain oils like olive oil that they can take to help keep their body warm during the cold climate. So remember this: oil free, water freeze, but oil doesn't freeze. So when you go into the cold breeze of winter, remember this. So you can rub down your body with oil such as coconut oil, castor oil to keep your body warm. And just remember, oil doesn't freeze.
On that note, we will stop the show now. But I would like to invite you again because the dialogue was very, very powerful. Um, for it to continue, but maybe one could be a talk on, on health, and maybe
Mhm.
look at the next one again because you got because you're very knowledgeable. So I would like to break it down into different sections, and you will talk about the machine and your consultation, but you can and what do you do and etc. Where they could contact you. But I would like to do a next discussion with you again.
Okay.
So we'll have to arrange it so you could come back and share with the community the knowledge that you have and to make the world a better place.
Yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the show, and keep it going, man. It's
Thank
all
you very
good.
much,
It's all good.
Galactic Clyde.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
peace.
Thanks. Yes. Bye.
Okay, bye.